What's up, my people? This is DL Gidron here in the studios of BBV TV. We all know we're going to go through things in life. And we always talk about everybody else and the things they're going through here with our hot topics. Today, this episode, the brothers, the hosts, are the hot topics. We will all share with you from our heart, as transparent as we can, about some experiences that we've dealt with and how it has helped us to be the better that we are today. You're going to go through some stuff, but it's how you think about it and how you deal with it when you're going through that determines your outcome. The Bible says in Romans 8:28, we all know all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and who are called according to his purpose. Let's take a look at these brothers as they share from their heart some stuff they've been through. It's going to be good.
BBV on your TV, Black Brothers View with GLG.
Welcome everybody to Black Brothers View TV, BBV TV. I'm your host, DL Gidron, and I'm here with the brothers, my co-hosts. And listen, today we're sharing with you a special and a different kind of view, a different kind of show. So what I need you to do is to like, share, and subscribe. Please make sure you share this with somebody. Go do it right now. All right. Today, we are the hot topics. We're going to share with you from our personal lives, our personal experiences, and help you see how we have bounced back. The Bible says two things. One, that we are transformed by renewing of our minds. So something about our mind that is important when we're going through everything we deal with in life. It's very essential the way we are thinking. If nothing else changes, how we're thinking got to be on the right track if we want our situation to transform. But then the Bible says in Romans, the 8th chapter, that's Romans 12, in Romans, the 8th chapter, the 28th verse, it says, for we know all things work together for the good of them who love the Lord and who are called according to his purpose. Well, all of us are brothers of faith. But guess what? Just because you are a man or a woman of faith don't mean you're not going to go through things. Don't mean you're not going to feel it. Don't mean weapons will not form. It just means they will not prosper. It means that your outcome is going to be different. So today, from the youngest to the oldest, the brothers are going to share with you things that they've gone through, experiences, obstacles, and how they have overcome, or they're still pressing beyond and persevering and yet overcoming today. All right, so we're gonna get right on into it. But first of all, brothers, how y'all doing? How's everybody doing?
Wonderful.
Doing wonderful. At my best.
At your Outstanding. Best. Outstanding. All right. So first of all, the youngest one on the block is none other than my son, DJ Shabak. The floor is yours, man. Tell us what your story is, what your experience is. Bounce back. Talk to us.
All right. So mine is more so of what you would call a Joel Osteen story. So one day, I believe I was in the 12th grade. I was a part of the cross country team. And so cross country is where you run for about 3.2 miles. So we had a particular meet that was supposed to be cross country length, which was 3.2 miles. So we got up early, went to this meet, everything. Okay, cool. So start running, right? Everyone's kind of together in the pack as we're running. Continue running. Everyone, gets into their own pace. So my coach, he's way above us, way ahead of us. Oh, just to backtrack. So this wasn't an actual meet. This was a run. This was with, the public, anyone who signed up. So my coach, he's running up ahead of us, and some of my teammates are behind me. So I'm going at my own pace. Eventually, about 5 minutes into it, you can't really see no one, around you who I knew. So kept running. About 20 minutes in, I'm not seeing no one at all. I'm thinking by this time, I'm probably catching up to my coach or one of my teammates about to catch up to me. I'm in my zone, got my music going on. keep going. About 30 minutes turn into about 40 minutes. So at this point, I'm like, I should be seeing some checkpoint of saying we're wrapping up, some people cheering, saying, let us know, like you're almost there, all this type of stuff. So I'm not seeing this. And so my personal record for 3.2 miles was about 21.10. So that's 21 minutes and 10 seconds. So by this time, I'm concerned because I'm like trying to figure out what's going on. So I'm thinking we're out throughout the city. I'm like, all right, maybe it's just something I'm not understanding. Next thing you know it, I'm about an hour into this. To remind you, 20 minutes is my PR for 3.5 miles. So an hour into this, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. We started in east of Atlanta. And by this time, it's an hour into it, we're on downtown side of Atlanta. So I'm highly concerned, but there's a bunch of people running with us. Next thing you know it, I get to a point, I'm like, hold on, something's not right. So I'm running and I ask the guy that's next to me, I was like, hey, sir, the cross country meet or whatever the name of it was. I was like, that. And he was like, oh no, this the half marathon. And so I was at a pause. So I had stopped for a minute and I'm like, so then he saw that stop. So he was like, but we halfway through, so you might as well just keep going. So I'm like, my mother and the rest of my teammates, they're probably done by now. They're waiting for me. So I got my phone on me. So I'm still walking. I'm debating whether I want to ask one of these officers if they can go ahead and take me to the finish line. What do I want to do? So I'm talking to the Holy Spirit. And I'm like, what should I do? I'm like, I don't have nothing else to do later on today. So you might as well just keep going. So I remembered then, I want to say half marathon is 13 miles. I could be wrong. So I decided to keep going. And listen to these few points as I'm going along. So the guy has said, you're halfway through, you might as well keep going. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna keep going. Now, everyone else is going at their own pace, so I'm like trying to keep running because I'm like, I'm a runner, I need to keep running. But then at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to pass out. So I go at my own pace, take a little break, just walk and continue, keep going. Next thing you know it, I'm towards the finish. Get through the finish line. My coach, my mom, my teammates, everyone's like, what is going on? Where was trying to figure out where were you? Did you know what you just did? Da, 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 da. So then they come with this big old medal, give it to me and everything. But they give me the medal. I keep walking, talk to my coach and my mom and everything. And then they're like, oh, hold on. You didn't sign up for this race? And they took my medal back. And so my coach, he was pissed because he was like, hold on, he just ran this, but he can't get his medal. So he went and talked to the lady. She, explained to them everything. I was able to get the official medal for the half marathon. At this point, I was exhausted. I could not feel my legs. I was done. Oh, to remind you, this was not a meet. So I didn't have on my proper shoes that we would typically have on during a meet. This was on the road. So I just had on some regular old tennis shoes. It wasn't even tennis shoes. It was like some sport kind of shoes, but it wasn't meant for running. And so I did all this under these circumstances. The moral to this story is a few morals. And the first moral is when I asked the guy, what's going on? He let me know we're halfway through. I'm like, okay, at that point, I wanted to stop because this was not what I signed up for. I signed up to do 3.5 miles. I think at this point, it was like 8 miles into it. I signed up to do 3.2 miles. And I'm 8 miles into this. So sometimes I realized the message I took from it was that sometimes God takes us on journeys that we didn't sign up for, journeys that we didn't want to do, journeys that we didn't even think we could do. But God is pushing us in that direction, but sometimes he's not giving us the leeway on where we're going, like he did with Abraham. He didn't tell Abraham, hey, listen, I'm going to take you here. He didn't tell the Israelites, hey, I'm going to take, it's going to be 40 years. He didn't say all these different things, because he knows sometimes that, hey, when we know these circumstances, we sometimes stop ourselves. So at that point, I had a choice to say, hey, either I'm gonna stop or I'm gonna keep going. I decided to keep going. The last thing is sometimes people will try to take away from you the way, just because you didn't get it the way other people did. You got other people who was in that half marathon training for probably months and signed up for it. I think you had to pay for it. I think that was the biggest reason why they took the medal away. But I did it. I finished it. We don't get sometimes the reward that, or we don't get the reward the way that other people are getting it. And a lot of people around us are going to be like, you shouldn't have got it. You don't deserve it. Nah, God knows what we deserve. God knows what we're going through. God knows what we've been through. So my biggest thing that I took from that is keep going. When you see that God is pushing you into a direction, don't stop. Just keep going.
All right.
Awesome.
That's good. I didn't know how you...
Shabbat, I admire your fortitude and your persistence and your tenacity on that one.
Thank you.
But
yeah,
that's what that's what this life is all about. Everything we're going through, it may be a different kind of scenario. I love how you put that. It may be a different kind of scenario, but it behooves us to take that scenario, may be different, but take the mindset, take the concept, and apply it to where we are.
Absolutely.
And all right, so Ficklin, you next, man.
Yeah, so I will come from the perspective of making wise decisions, and that finances turn heads and finances turn tables. Years before I realized, I used to hear older people say sometimes that credit is better than cash, right? But in most things try to operate with a cash transaction though. And it took me a while to kind of understand that, and going through various things. So, even as we hear growing up, the dream is to own your own house and acquire kind of wealth and various things. And, so for years, been wanting to previously own a house, right? And then credit was always a funny thing, right? Because I never had a problem finding a job or making money, right? It was always to the credit. Credit can go up, credit go down. You do this little thing, it changes and it fluctuates. And it wasn't when it came to credit that necessarily I spent my money frivolously. Right. But I will say that what I've learned is that the timing in which you spend money makes a difference. Right. So I may want something, but that doesn't mean that I have to get it right then. Such thing as saving up for it. That's the reward. Right. I saved up for this car. I saved up for this thing and I got it. And so I, over the years, have gone through a series of wanting to get a house, and the credit was not there. And at one point, I had a great relationship with my mom, and my mom said, "Oh, well, I'll help you and your family get a house." And so went through the process of mom putting it in her name, got right there weeks before close it, and it fell through. And so you can imagine the devastation to me, as well as my family, in that, okay, we're about to get this house. We've been looking at this house. We're going to go to the next level. I'm acquiring that wealth. I'm getting my piece of the pie. And then to only fall out from under us right before that. And then, saying, okay, I'm gonna get back up. I started trying to learn some things and about credit and how credit works, and about finance and how does that work. And so started to get that. And then back in 2013, like I said, mom was going to get in her name, and we were still looking at doing those things. Then mom passes. Right. And so mom passes, but yet my credit is not such that I could afford to get a house in my name. But yet, again, had no problem with the job, had a steady job, right? It was just that it is, and I found out, and I also tried to tell younger ones this, is that it is easy to destroy your credit, right? But it's hard to build it back up.
Yes.
And so Mom passes in 2013. I've been working, trying to get a house in my name. And right before Mom passed, I said, you know what? This isn't working. And I just gave up. I said, you know what? I'm just going to rent for the remainder of my life, and just find a nice place to rent, nice house to rent, and just do that. So Mom passes, and when Mom passes, I'm like, you know what? This is just, I guess it's just meant not to own a home. But and it was at that phase of when Mom passed, and still remaining diligent about still trying to improve the credit, took my eye off it. Still worked diligently. And one day was on vacation at the time, went and pulled my credit. And it was as a change had turned, even when I wasn't looking, but I was working diligently, still trying to pay my things on time, trying to pay things off, trying to watch my spending, talking about vacation. Had learned again to save up for that, right? Not just take a credit card and just swipe it. Because at that one stage, I had 7-8 credit cards trying to maintain. And so it was as pull that credit, ties had changed, and call my reels on vacation and say, hey, could you look at my credit and make sure I'm seeing what I'm seeing? He was like, oh yeah, no, we're ready to move on it. And so we were able to move. I was able to move at that time and get a house in my name that I never thought I could get. And so as I began to look at that, and I took a step back and saw a couple of things, even in my pain and my disappointment in doing that, was a couple of things. One, God wants us to depend on him, not on other people or other things. Mm-hmm. And Mom was that leaning post for me, if you would, right? Because, hey, Mom's going to do this for me. It's going to work out, because if Mom would have done it, right? One, God couldn't have gotten glory. But then two, I wouldn't have been able to stand on my own 2 feet. Mm-hmm. Also, I've learned that, you keep working diligently, right? Because if I would have stopped and said, you know what, I am completely giving up, I'm done with it, and just like, it's not meant for me, it's not going to happen, I would have never been able to do that. And then also being able to reach back and also keep my kids and my son now, who pulls his credit and looking at his scores and various things. But understanding then that, being able to go in the store, and even when we're talking about Black Brothers View, right, from a community perspective, right, when we have our finances in order, right, we can be in conversations that otherwise we are not allowed or wouldn't be allowed to be in. When I look at things that are going on, even in the nation, with Black brothers being killed, and we're protesting, right? So I think there is, to a degree, as long as we're not being violent, don't mind us protesting, right? But in order to change things, you have to be at the table. And one thing that happens and turns heads, I found out, when you're talking about even protesting, and then when we start, there are some bad actors, as they call them, start damaging things, right? It's turning heads because now it starts to cost me financially. And so then that's what makes things, people turn their heads, right? And so when you also talk about turning tables, if we're have our finances in order and can sit to tables, right? We can help turn tables because now we're on the same playing level, right? Now it's being leveled out because we're caring about not just our community, but also the finances that are poured into community and the things that help the community grow. And so now I'm not just sitting at the table saying, I think we need to do this, we need to do that. But you know what? I have finances to back it. And so now, not only can I help change my financial situation, but I'm changing generations and communities because now I'm turning heads and turning tables because now financially, I can have those conversations and talk about what we need to do to build up the community, not by word only, but word and deed. And so that's the part that I wanted to bring, because a lot of times we talk about finances, it brings about shame sometimes, historically in our community, because we don't like to say that we struggled or that we don't have or what we didn't know. And so certainly thought that was something that I wanted to address and bring to this, my brothers, right, to talk about how finances turn heads and how finances turn tables. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Man. Listen, that's awesome. That's so awesome. But just quick, what you were saying, that shame, getting rid of that shame and learning how to gain.
That's right.
We can get to a place where we just get brothers, black brothers, everybody, if we can get rid of our shame and learn, okay, and you have to ask questions. How do I gain? Who was that we was watching last night? You allow me to say?
Kevin Samuels
and
Joe Budden.
And they were just talking about, from a financial standpoint, a lot of times how guys, women are more apt to go, hey, it's out here somewhere. Let me go ask some questions. Let me find, and men sometimes think they got to just find a way themselves or whatever. But it just goes to show once again, man, that that you gotta be at the table, you gotta touch, you gotta network. But at the end of the day, God gets the glory behind all of that. Pretty much like what you're saying, God gets the glory. Mark Peterson, all the way in North Carolina.
All right. Well, my story is 2008. Son was born in April. By October 2008, and anyone remembers that time, the economy began to crash. Well, wound up losing my job. So I started looking for jobs, and I was in a funny area of Virginia at that point in time. I lived in the Fredericksburg area, worked in the DC area. The thing about that area is DC area has a higher cost of living than Fredericksburg. Therefore, DC jobs pay more than Fredericksburg jobs do. So when I start looking for a job, I'm applying locally. Go to interviews. They say, hey, you're qualified. However, I'm afraid to hire you because I know once the job comes back available in the DC area, you're going to leave. Just to put it in perspective, let's say a person's making $100,000 in the DC area for the exact same job in the Fredericksburg area, you're looking at maybe 45. Okay, so that was a challenge I have to deal with for 2 years of finding jobs. So fast forward this 2-year period of time, talked to my mom, who was my rock, held me down, helped me out this time. My wife held me down, helped me. It was mentally trying, knowing you're supposed to be the breadwinner, the provider, and I couldn't do it. I was on many interviews. People were like, why don't you get a job at McDonald's? And, I said, you know what? Do you have a piece of paper and pencil handy? And they were kind of shocked. And I said, I get unemployment. And I can't remember the exact amount, but it was more than working 40 hours a week at minimum wage at McDonald's. So I said, for me to go work at McDonald's 40 hours a week, I'm going to lose money because now I'm able to stay at home with my child and provide childcare for him. But if I go work at McDonald's, I'm going to be in a hole because I got to pay for childcare.
It's a decision.
So how does it behoove me to take any job I can get? It just didn't work now. If all I had was no experience and the job I had was a minimum wage job, I probably could do that. But I didn't have a minimum wage job. I couldn't take $8 an hour going from what I was making. It just wouldn't work out. So, I'm talking to my mom, telling her about this. She said, look, why don't you come down here to North Carolina, move in with me, get yourself straightened out, apply for jobs down here, and and get yourself straight. So she told me this probably about a year into it, and I just didn't want to do it. It took me a whole year to even apply for jobs in North Carolina. I just could not see going from my own house to living under my mom's roof again with my family. The man in me wouldn't allow me to do it.
Yeah.
So as time kept going, I finally found a job in North Carolina. But I was working from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. Thursday through Sunday.
Mm.
Okay. Those are my hours. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah. And my quality of life sucked. I had no time to spend with my family because I was working on weekends. It was significantly less than what I was making before, but it was a job in my field, which I think can turn into something else. And they were willing to take a chance with me. So I wound up keeping that job for maybe about a year. And then, she said, why don't you come down here? You can find something down here. And, I listened, applied, got my current job. I've been there 10 years. So we moved into my mom's house. I stayed there. We stayed there for about a couple of months, for August to maybe December. But in the beginning of December, my mom got diagnosed with cancer. And she was diagnosed at stage 3. So, we decided to move out to give her space to heal instead of having to deal with a 3-year-old in the house. Other people just moved out. And I went about my job. So I'm still in the same county where my mom was living at. And within a few months, by June, she was dead. Cancer got her. And a month before that, got my grandmother, who didn't know she had cancer, or what we found out, she knew, just didn't tell anybody. And, I lost my grandmother and my mother all within a month. And, I'm sitting on the front row of my grandmother's funeral, mentally preparing myself again for my mom's funeral, because the way she looked, I knew it was inevitable. I knew it was going to come, just didn't know when. And, I'm praying like, God, please let this happen. Then I'm also praying, God, take out of the miseries. So dealing with that, then, she passes. And, for a year, I was really hurt. I was like, why did this happen to me? Why? And, it finally took me a year or so to realize that God ordered my steps of where he wanted me to be at a certain time. And if I had just done what my mom told me to do when she told me to do it, I would have had more time with her. And, sometimes we get instructions and don't listen to them because we think we know better. Okay. If I had done what my mom said I would have done, I probably would have had an extra year of just spending time with my mom that I just won't get back because I did what I wanted to do. I did what I thought was best. I let my pride make my decisions for me. I didn't take that helping hand that was given to me because I said, I can get out of this. I can get out of this. And she's like, you can't get out of this. She kept telling me, you're working Thursday through Saturday, 8 at night to 8 in the morning. You've already totaled the car because you fell asleep behind the wheel. You can't get a second job because Sunday through Wednesday, you're keeping your son. And then he's only going to daycare part-time. So you're not going to get out of this. You're going to be doing this until someone gives you another chance, another job. You can't even go on interviews because you're asleep. I said, wow, I never looked at it like that. And, this is just, so many things I learned from this. I learned about pride. I learned about depression because, I thought my family would be better off without me because I couldn't do anything for them at one point. I mean, it crossed my mind. I'm not going to, but I never acted upon it, obviously. But that thought did cross my mind. I prayed and just, asked God to deliver me from it. But it was just a very dark time of my life. And, I try to tell people, when you hear that voice of God speaking to you through other people, sometimes you might want to listen to it because it may not be what you want to do, but it's what you have to do. Because, I look at it, if I had just done things when she told me to, I don't know where I would be at today. Would things be different? Or would I just don't know. So, depression, financial ruins, because, one salary in the house, something ain't going to work. And just listen to that spirit, which I didn't do. So obedience, something we all have to do is be obedient to the Lord. And you know, I wasn't. I wasn't.
I like Mark, what Mark shared, and even that last piece about obedience. You know, it was a saying that someone said that delayed disobedience is still disobedience,
Yeah.
right? And so we find so much that, you know, God has doors and things open for us,
You don't
and
want
He's
to.
not going to pick us up and throw us through the door, right? But
Nope.
He's going to wait for us to. He's already opened that door, and it's for us to walk through it. And so it's interesting that, you know, things that we learn through disobedience, but even in that journey, in getting to that, there's still a lesson to be learned. And so even Mark, when I hear you saying, you know, you could have had so much time with your mom in that year and that kind of thing, but I will tell you the things that you've also learned within that year and a half have been life lessons that but for that you'd have never learned.
Exactly.
And but for that you can't give it to someone else. And so, you know, the saying 20 it's always right. Exactly. And so now you can also, you've learned from that, and you can also, through your pain, through your hurt, through even that depression, you can help build someone else up and help ensure that someone else's disobedience is not a delay because of that, because now you'll be able to talk them through, help them through that. So
wow, so much. I thank all three of y'all for sharing. As I'm sitting here, feel like I'm in a testimony service on one hand, but then on the other hand, I feel like I'm in a manhood empowerment session. You know what I'm saying? Conference. And I'm hearing some leaders and some powerful men share their stories, you know? And it's so it's a building thing that's going on right here at this moment. And I know that it's going to catapult and go out and be a blessing to you and to whoever you share it with, those of you who are out there. My sharing comes from, my story is from 2020. And pretty much I would sum it up, if I gave it a title, it would be simply Mental Health Matters. We talk about Black Lives Matter, we talk about Blue Lives Matter, and there's so much that goes on with that. We've seen a profound movement taking place because of Black Lives Matter being at the forefront of 2020. During January of 2020, we had a KPO vision board dinner meeting. At that meeting, we began to project and envision what we wanted to see in our 2020. And we were pumped up and, you know, geared up to go into 2020. This is what we're going to do from a social standpoint, financial standpoint, mental standpoint, you know, health, etc. And that was the last Sunday in January. Going into February, I was dealing with my father and him being close, dealing with him with the doctors. And at that time, I didn't see him as being close to death. We were constantly trying to see where he could possibly go to, to get some further medical help and treatment. It ended up that I got a phone call, and my dad called me on the 12th. And I remember 5:30 sitting in the park across the street on that bench on the 12th of February and talking to him. And I'll never forget that conversation. And so thereafter, that weekend, I received a call. That was like on a Wednesday. I received a call saying, you need to, come on up a little earlier. That Tuesday, we were going to be taking a plane out to Philadelphia. Not to go into too much of that because I'm trying to sum up a lot of what took place during this particular year. My father ended up not living long enough for us to take him to Philadelphia to the doctors up there. But Mark, as you were saying, God gave me that opportunity to be able to be there with my dad. That first of all, I had the whole year prior to, and God was just leading me to just do different things once a month. So I'm able to think about some of the last things I did with my dad and was able to do for my dad. And I got some calm in that. Particularly, you remember even when we had an opportunity to play cards with our sons on the back deck, and you saw how happy he was just sitting there watching us, and talking. And so I reflect back to that moment many a times. On the 18th, my dad passed, and that was February. A couple of weeks after that, we was hit with Corona and the pandemic and the pandemic, COVID-19, quarantine, words that was never part of our daily vocabulary. For me, I dealt with depression before. I contemplated suicide before, not acted on it, but there was times when two times specifically, I remember when I contemplated it very heavily. It wasn't because I lost faith in God. It wasn't because it was because I was tired. I was tired. I didn't want, so I knew what that feeling felt like, and I didn't want to get there anymore. I also dealt with a nervous breakdown right in 2000 when he was born. So these are like feelings, these are things that I fought off and I fought before, or that took me under one time and, I had to come back up. So I knew the mindset, I knew the feeling, and I'm like, oh no, I don't like this. Come on, I gotta fight this. So personal, my father passing and really not being able to fully grieve with that. COVID-19 came into place, and that hit everybody, and it hit everybody in different ways. And with me, when it hit me, I'm at the house by myself, and everybody's scared to come and visit somebody. So it's like, okay, everybody's scared to go outside, and that weighed on me very heavily, man. I was able to do different things throughout the day. I was able to still focus on purpose and ministry, pumping up myself while I'm trying to encourage other people, and even those of us who encourage people all the time, people forget we need encouragement
as well.
We need it too, and if we're not careful to realize that we need it, we'll get to a place and we don't know we need it until we're drained, and we can do nothing for ourselves or anybody else. And so dealing with all of those things, other personal situations going on, and then just what I'm thinking in my own mind, in the way your mind plays, not necessarily even tricks on you, but the way it just the facts of life compile one on top of the other. And then when you get in a place where you feel I can't do anything about that, or normally I would do this, but now I can't do that, it got to a place that even being, I started having groceries brought to my house, and I'm scared to let the people in, even people like, listen, I said, leave it at the door, I'll talk to you later, everything, because we didn't really know much as we know now, and we're still learning a lot. But moving on past Corona and not being able to be connected to the social aspect of life, not being able to go nowhere. One of my things that I pride myself on living here in Atlanta is I can independently go places by myself, whether I'm walking, whether I'm catching the train or catching an Uber or something. But it got to the place that everything was like shut down, and I'm in a house by myself, and the TV was good for a certain extent. Bible good to a certain extent, and I get out and walk in the neighborhoods, and then you just get scared. People walking past people on the sidewalk. I'm jumping off the sidewalk in the street, trying to pass them and everything. But I'm like, I got to get out of this house, you know. And you made me careful. How dare you make me careful? Yeah, God got me, but you know, and so, but all of that was piling on, and while I would put on a smile on the outside, and while you know, there was still a struggle, there was still a battle, you know, wanting it to help it end, you know, and I'm pleading the blood of Jesus, and come on, you know, and then did that for a couple of weeks, and you're still in faith, still with the word, still waiting on change. And so I got to a point where it was October, after dealing with so many different things and talking to my doctor, that's when, and you know, October is Mental Health Awareness Month. And in the Black community, Black brothers, listen, in the Black community, going to a therapist is looked down upon. You know, we don't talk to nobody. You know, we don't go get no, you know, help from a therapist or anything, psychiatrist or whatever. Well,
that's what the Heaney's for.
And we take care of we make sure every other aspect of our body, particularly you may mention about financial health, right? We talk about physical health and so many different, and we forget about the mental health. And I say mental health matters because if your health, if your mental health is not well,
certainly
it's going to impact every other aspect of your life. And brothers, you've got to do what you got to do. You got to recognize what your triggers are. I recognize during 2020, not going into all of it, what was triggering that and what wasn't helping, was piling onto my depression or my anxiety. I also realized what gave me an outlet, what helped me. And I just want to end on this note right here. First of all, by saying that mental health does matter. Your mental health matters. Don't think about nothing or nobody else but your mental health, because whoever you're thinking about, you can't even benefit them. But if you think enough about your family and that which is dear to you, you realize that anything you can do to build up and benefit yourself is the route to take. You two guys, now all the brothers weren't able to be with us here today. I was still wondering what I was going to talk about. I gotta say this to you two, and then I'm dropping the mic. First of all, Mark, we started like I said, purpose through the Holy Spirit. Purpose is what was keeping me alive. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, if it was not, I said I wasn't gonna cry. Listen, if it was not for purpose and knowing that there was still something that God was calling out of me in the midst of everything dreadful that I was hearing. And people and everybody else I was hearing had somebody in their house with them. Somebody was there. See what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, we were shut in, but it was like, you know, I'm missing that. But what happened was that purpose allowed me to contact you through the blessing of technology. And I shared with you what was on me and what I needed to do, what I wanted to do for us Black Brothers View. You was like, man, let's do it. You know, God touched you. God used you to be that ram, that vessel that you didn't even know all that you were doing when you said yes. We never know all that we are doing for that person or for kingdom or for other people.
Right.
So I wasn't caught up in other numbers and stuff and who views what. I just know I had to do what he told me to do and bring. And then when we would come together with the other brothers, I felt like, I was breathing again, you know? So I want to say thank you to you for connecting and helping made it possible for us to take BBV to the level of mainstream, you know? And then Ficklin, more I can say about that, but moving on. And Ficklin, he came out on my birthday, May 24th, 2020. Never forget it. Turned 50 years old. And I'm celebrating all year until 51. Okay, so there's a song. I love Golden Girls. Yeah, I do. There's a song that saying
DMX like Golden Girls too.
Really? The song that says now I'm trying to think ahead.
Thank you for being a friend.
Thank you for being travel down the road and back again. Y'all know the lyrics. All them lyrics is Derek L. Ficklin. I can never hear the song without thinking about him. man, without thinking about you, when I hear it, because you epitomize the lyrics in that song. Here I am on my 50th birthday. I'd already had plans. I was going to Jamaica. I was everything. I didn't talk about all that. All that stuff was shut down, stopped, and canceled. You came from South Carolina down here, and you, with your mask on, everything in the house. I got my mask on in the house. You coming in because we were still, not as well knowledgeable to some of this stuff as we are now. And with the mask on, you, I came out of my bubble for you. I wouldn't come out of my bubble for nobody else but you. And brothers, we have got to be each other's strength. If there are brothers in your life, know that a way that a brother can be your strength is like no other. And I just want to say thank you to both of you. Like I said, so much I can say to that, but I'm just saying to anyone, understand that when you're going through whatever you're going through, God will send people. Recognize, as dark as it may be, recognize the light of Mark, recognize the light of Fickner, recognize the light that God will put in your life. And then I was just waiting because I was waiting to see this boy that Clarence, he would come and, and could come. And that was like, and the last thing, I thought that was the last thing, but I got COVID. Mark got COVID as well. All of that had me in a place, but going to mental health therapy and being able to talk out all of these different levels and layers of things has given me an outlet, has given me tools that I not only use for myself. I'm always giving people tools, encouraging people, but now this is just for me, giving me tools, outlet, but then tools to go use. And I've been implementing these tools, man. And let me tell you, they work. And I encourage you all to know that wherever you are in life, that you can bounce back from it. And though it may be dark, weeping may endure for a night, but y'all help me.
Joy cometh in the morning.
Yes. And so wherever you are, that's our view, that's our hot topic, that's our perspective on where we've gone. We can talk about Bill Mays, Kirk, and everybody else in the world, things that's going on, and we'll always go on. We're letting you know when you hear from us, we are speaking from experience, and we're speaking from faith and from conviction. And we're not telling you something that we're not doing ourselves. So brothers, I just thank you all for being vulnerable enough and for sharing. And I've been blessed, and I hope you all have been as well.
You have been.
Certainly. Thank you for allowing us to share.
Let me give you a hand, applaud you for taking time and say thank you for watching another episode of BBV TV. Listen, I need you to do us a favor. Like, share, and subscribe. You hear it everywhere all the time. We need you to stop right now. Like, share, and subscribe. There's somebody out there who will be the better when you share this with them. All right? And I hope that it's been a blessing to you. Like, share, and subscribe. Go have a good day, and remember to always be light.